When people discuss winners and losers in the education market and honestly elsewhere, whenever it's a conversation with someone from Latin America, the US, or Europe, they're very inclined to focus on the apparent misfortunes of those who go out of business rather than all of the benefits that would come from the new players that come in. When Blockbuster lost to streaming, when taxis got overtaken by Ubers, and now that the public education system within the US, it's increasingly being threatened by a new wave of private educational companies, schools, enrichment programs, learning pods. It wasn't about a management failure. It was something inevitable, a result of technological advancement, of people from other fields coming in and trying to improve it, a new wave of scientists and researchers bringing in science of learning to back a lot of the new wave of edtechs. And it sure sucks, on an individual level or even on a company level, when you have to tell your employees, hey, we just went out of business, we can't afford you, or even to yourself as a founder, hey, this dream that I've been pursuing for the last 5 to 10 years, I have to stop it because I cannot afford to maintain it. That really sucks. However, as a society, we vote with our money and attention about the kind of companies that we want to keep seeing alive and the kind of present that we want to have. This brings me to another point of economic development, and this is the role of business competition and how some businesses going out of business is actually vital for society to improve. Think about two juice stands. You have the one that sells bad juices, and you have the one that sells good juices. Now, the good juices, they offer filtered water, they taste well, good for your health. The bad juices, they're pretty bad and they cause you occasionally diarrhea. And since you haven't had a choice so far, you just drink them. This is actually quite common in a lot of parts from the developed world. Now, imagine you have the bad juices and you have the good ones. Initially, there might be some people who, because the bad juices are familiar, they might just stick to them. You might keep buying them. It's the usual. I occasionally have a stomachache. It's fine. But as they perceive that the good juices bring more benefits, perhaps because they see their friends' kids not being as sick as often as their own kids, they might go ahead and start voting with their money for the good juices. Assuming we're in a free market, this will lead into pressure from the bad juices into improving, doing something about it, or simply just selling less and less and less to the people who for some reason want these bad juices until they just go out of business and get outperformed by the better alternative. This is important because usually in business, economics, and society, whenever you're using resources to buy a specific thing, you're not using them to buy something else. Losses in revenue, they tell businesses, hey, something might not be working as you think it is, and if you don't change it fast enough, you might go out of business. I work in education and there's a new wave of edtechs and schools based on AI that are reaching out to me. They are very well known. There's a lot of buzz on social media about them. But from an internal level, from the marketing and finances, which is usually the thing that they're hiring me to advise them on, they actually don't have as many students as people think they have. They are promising specific results that they cannot get on a consistent enough basis, so people are leaving, or they have to kick out people so that they can maintain this average that they're trying to promote. And this is not something unknown within any school. It's completely normal. At times that dream that you want to help people achieve is just not possible for everyone, or it might not be as easy to replicate over and over again. However, the main point that I'm trying to conceive here is that at this point, they might not be a bad juice stand, but there's a lot of road that is still ahead in order to become a good juice stand. Now, this business has to make a decision. I either ignore the signals from people of what I have to improve on, or I just go out of business. And it's as simple as that. It's not ethical, it's not a moral question, it's a question of economics and people voting. Because a lot of these new edtechs and schools, they have a lot of money. Essentially what they have to do is use that money in the best ways that they can think about for the longest time possible to go from this transition from being a bad juice stand into a one that is really, really good and that people will keep buying for years to come, and it actually benefits society from the consumption of it. But unless that happens at a faster rate than the rate in which people are drinking the juice and saying, this is not as good as I thought, we'll just not have that business at all. Because probably there will be another learning pod, another enrichment program, another school, another edtech, another juice stand that is selling a better juice and that people would just prefer more often. I think that most of you would agree with the statement that you will probably not want to have bad juices in your village, in your town, or you'll want the best school that is possible to exist. I also get that a lot of these conversations can be uncomfortable when it comes to an individual level. There's a lot of conversations about AI and AI overtaking your jobs. I was part of one of the most known New York City content agencies, and we worked with people like Google, Amazon, Canva. And I think at one point, there was a high wave of layoffs. I wasn't part of the company by this point, but I heard that 40, 50, even 60% of people were kicked out and they were replaced with AI. These were people who were told that they were family. These were people who had been with the company for 5 years. These were people who were used to train these AI models that were framed under the lens of, hey, we're going to improve your job. And they were just let go. Now, of course, this sucked. However, a lot of these people went on to have better jobs that were paying more in cities that they wanted more. They pivoted careers and now they're doing something that they like more. And some of them, of course, they are now managing a bunch of AI that is doing the job that they were doing on an individual level, but that is now being done at a just higher scale or just higher consistency. And why am I even talking about this? I'm talking about economics, education, bad juices. Well, it's because on an individual level, sometimes you're also perceived as a bad juice. And as a bad juice, you have to go ahead and actually improve your stand or go out of business. A lot of my friends who were part of this company, past colleagues who went on to make way more money, have way more enjoyable lives, they said, okay, the market is perceiving me as a bad juice and I need to get better. And it seems like to get better, I need to gain this qualification and do these specific things. And after they did them, they're now the good juice then. They're now loved and companies are voting with their money that they're liked. Like the bad juice then, or like the bad school, or the bad anything. You could just say, no, we're actually the better one. People are not getting it. People don't understand the kind of things that we're doing. That might be true. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, are people voting with their money in a way that actually shows that they trust in that rate of change that you think you're bringing? Because if they're not, chances are that you're not achieving the kind of transformations that you really hope that you're bringing. I too see companies fail and see all of the incredible people that were behind a project and the founder has been working on it for 5-10 years and also think, man, that sucks. Like they really were trying. In the case of education, it's like they really were trying. They were reading all the science papers. They were implementing all the right features, but the market just didn't seem to applaud them. And I see all those efforts and I also say, man, that sucks. But when I take the emotions out of it and I think about it from a bigger perspective, I think that all those layoffs, all those shops that close, all those schools that are running out of business, all that money that is running out of public education to the private system, all those bad juices that are being sold and that now don't have any demand are part of the same natural process. It's just the moving of resources from an area that is perceived as less efficient or less valuable for society into one that is just more appreciated, more valued. And the question is simply, are you going to be the type of company that improves, makes their juices better, gets better ingredients on a more consistent enough basis, or are you just going to whine that you're being targeted by some evil figure or that the state hates you or people just don't see it and go out of business? The choice is actually yours.